Hey, are you a UX researcher who struggles to get buy-in from stakeholders with their research insight presentations? Can be a little bit tricky. We talk here a lot about facilitation, workshops, collaboration, and today I want to take you on a journey and share some of my insights or approaches of how I collect my research and share my research results. When I started in user research, which was 2005, a long time ago, um, at the very beginning, my typical approach was to create, pretty lengthy documents, research insights. So this would usually include a presentation with detailed information around the participants, the questions we've asked, the approach overall, and then kind of like slide by slide, all of our findings. And there's definitely still use cases for doing a proper presentation and going through your findings step by step. But I find nowadays the approach has changed a lot, especially because the needs of how we work together, so the needs of our target audience, also has changed. We work way more agile. There is a strong need for just quick snippets, like quick insights that you get, rather than having a lengthy presentation or even a lengthy document that nobody will read ever. So the way how I set up my user research process is very interactive in the end. I use tools like Figma or Miro to prepare, to collect the insights, to analyze the insights, and to share the insights. And that way, in a team, we always have that interactive board that we can use to, kind of go back to the findings and also approach us step by step, snippet by snippet. So let me show you how I go about this process. So usually how I start at the very beginning is I do have a little research planning meeting. And if you're following the video, you can see an example of how I approach it. But I basically use tools like Figma or Miro and set up some questions. I usually do my homework front, so I do some secondary research. I collect any existing data that we have. This could be insights from former user research that has been done. It could be analytics. It could be secondary research. And then I have kind of like two core sections. One section is pre-populated, and that section is collects everything with what we know. So these are the facts and data that I've already collected. And then I have a second section that is all about what we need to understand better. So it's kind of like an assumption mapping workshop, but less detailed than an assumption mapping workshop. And in the example that I have here, I also approach it already in a customer journey mindset, just to look at different phases. But you don't have to do it the way. So the easiest way to set this up is to have one core bucket area of all the knowledge that already exists. And then you want to have a second bucket where you collect any kind of questions that are unknowns. And if you do that in a meeting, in a workshop session, you will see that based on the facts that are already known, a lot of people might have questions around those facts, like how certain are we about these facts, or where are these facts coming from, and do we really understand, I don't know, the underlying reasons behind these facts? So there might be a lot of additional questions that are being triggered even by what we think we already know. But also if we see what things are already out there that we know, this might also make it easier for us to come up with questions that we're really keen on exploring. So it's a really good way to just prep your team, invite your team to collect any additional questions that you need to prepare your research. So this is step number one, and this is one meeting and one interactive exercise. You can start to cluster these questions. So in the example that I have, I clustered everything based on a customer journey map, based on a phase, like a before, during, after approach. You can also cluster it by topics, or if you are researching like on a specific product and want to evolve that product, you can cluster it by feature or by product area. So that might help. The goal of this first step is to engage the whole team, to get buy-in into the research approach, and to also make sure that everybody is heard. And you might even uncover additional facts that you couldn't access with your secondary research or with your data analytics, but you might hear additional stories, or because you hear additional stories from your sales reps, from your marketing people, you might come up with additional or better research questions. So the objective is to collect a bunch of questions, things that we're not certain about, things that we want to uncover. Then in order to plan your research, you can end that session with a voting exercise where you identify the top, let's say like 10 questions that you want to get answers to. This for you is the input for the next step, which means you have to prepare a research plan after that. So you have all your questions in order. The next step that you want to do is you want to get started on what kind of research is it that we want to do? Like, how are we going to answer those questions? Some of these questions might require quantitative analysis or quantitative research approaches. Some of them are qualitative approaches. So you really have to go through the questions and identify the best way to be able to answer those questions. That will also help you to get to a great mixed method approach, because very often there's not a single method that is the best approach, but there could be different and various ways of how to collect additional data and how to uncover certain insights. What the best way is in the specific situation that you're in will also be defined by additional requirements. So this means the time frame that you're in, the budget that you're in, accessibility to the participants that you need to ask. There might be challenges with like time constraints, different time zones, difficulty to even like get them to share some of their time. So all of this will also impact your decision on what research method is the most useful for the situation that you're in. So again, to quickly recap, step number 1 is to collect the additional questions, like what is it that we don't know. Do a voting exercise to identify the most relevant questions, and then identify ways, so this is your expertise as a UX researcher, identify ways on how to best proceed, like what research methods do we want to do. Then from there, I put a research plan together, recommendations together, usually have another meeting with my team. We align on an approach, and then it's all about the detailed planning of the research. And this might be a survey, but let's focus more on qualitative research. So let's say I'm now prepping for user interviews, research interviews. The way how I usually set that up is, so I have my interview guidelines that I structure, and I either use a spreadsheet approach for that, where I have all my questions and all my participants laid out, or I do this straight in also a tool like Miro or Figma. And the example that I have here is I often use the same color codings across the way. I have certain like core introduction questions usually, or like basic questions, and then I'm very much interested in pain points. I'm interested in things that are working very well, and I'm also interested in any kind of highlights, new ideas, snippets. So I usually use color coding either from the get-go. So if I use a tool like Miro or Figma, I have yellow sticky notes for general comments, general behavior, anything that's task related. I have red sticky notes for pain points. I have green sticky notes for things that are working very well, that people really like. And I have blue sticky notes for ideas that are either coming directly from users, but also ideas, just observation insights that that are revealing throughout the research. So again, I either use a spreadsheet or I do it directly with sticky notes. And then after each interview, I take some time to just go through the highlights. And if I use a spreadsheet, I color code all my insights then right there. And if it's my FigJam or my Miro board with the sticky notes, I just make sure that I got all the notes in order. And if I already see certain clusters or patterns, I might group those sticky notes already slightly for one participant. Yes, there are tons of AI tools by now. And I do use AI tools as well for recording and transcripts. But to be honest, I haven't really found a good solution yet. While those summaries of those transcripts can be useful, I still find that there are often cases where AI is missing certain aspects that are really, really relevant for me. Because AI would know what areas to focus on and what's more relevant, what's less relevant. AI is based on patterns, right? So it will collect a bunch of patterns and it will make sure that everything that is frequently mentioned will also rise up higher. So that increases the importance. But not because something is mentioned very often. It's always the case that this is also the most important aspect. So I still find it very useful to just scan through everything myself. And even if I use an AI tool, I kind of use it as like pre-scanning, a pre-summary, but I definitely put my own angle on it. Then, so that is during the session. After a session, and that's why I like those boards a lot, even if I have a spreadsheet, I usually just copy all my cells in a spreadsheet and paste it straight into Miro. It doesn't work very well with FigJam or Figma, but in Miro, all your cells turn automatically into sticky notes. So then you have a bunch of sticky notes where you can do a typical affinity diagram exercise. So you just go through your sticky notes and cluster everything. And there, if you do use Miro, you can actually use AI support there as well. And, just highlight your sticky notes. There's an AI approach where AI will cluster and categorize those sticky notes for you automatically as well. Again, I did experiment with AI support there as well. And while it can create interesting categories, it's not necessarily reflecting on what I am interested in. So I find when I go through everything and create my own categories, they're very, very different from the AI categories and more useful because I have that bigger picture in mind and know what I want to focus on. You could also possibly say more biased, but there is something to be said about, knowing there's so much additional knowledge that you have as a user researcher, your whole project structure, your requirements, the overall goal. So this knowledge is not just a bias, but it's also a guideline for you on how to summarize data or how to make sense of data. So I create themes out of these, out of my sticky notes, my clustering sticky notes, and then for each theme, I will turn that into specific insight. That can be a big board and a big mess of like tons of insights. So this is not where I would stop and I wouldn't just take people through it, but I then would usually refine everything into like core messaging. And those messages, I try to be as short and precise as possible. I will usually highlight a few elements that are working very well just to give the team a heads up of like, here are areas that like we shouldn't necessarily change. Like this is already a success for us. And if at all, it's like good for marketing to know that this is something that we can promote even more so. And then highlight areas where I found struggles and pain points. But I try to keep everything in one environment, so I wouldn't turn those into a presentation or a separate document, because that way I can easily just go back into my board and like pinpoint specific areas, or go to a specific cluster, a specific category, go to a specific quote that I have. You can obviously put presentations together the same way and add quotes and everything in it, but this takes way more time to, put everything into a neatly organized presentation. And what I find with user research insights, the presentation is not the final step. Like, it's really about sharing the key insights as almost like an instruction into the task, the actual task for your project, like the next steps of what we want to do. Like, nobody will necessarily go through a lengthy research document to understand the research insights. It's more about, okay, what have we learned? What does that mean for us? What are we doing now? It's really about the doing, the outcome of what you want to accomplish. And so this is where I turn into kind of the third round of an interactive exercise. So I summarize my core learnings, and then I would usually come up with a prepared clustering, a prepared structure recommendation of what the next steps could be. And this really depends on the research and the focus of your research. But it could be, for example, to inform the overall customer journey. So then I would start to just high level prepare a customer journey, plop in my core insights, but use the team and the discussion with the team to actually populate any ideas that we have. Like, how do we want to use those pain points that we discovered, and what are the opportunities for us or the ideas for us on what is it that we want to work on? So that could be brainstorming exercises right there, again, working with sticky notes. And then it can also include voting exercise, where you actually vote for what is the most promising or most relevant feature for us to work on right now. And that kind of sums it up for the process overall. So again, you see how I did interactive sessions at the very beginning to inform the research questions. Then there's obviously a phase where, as a user researcher, it's on me to prepare everything, to define the approach, define the methods that we use, set up interview guidelines or set up a survey, and then conducting the interviews as well. But then the next interactive block would be, sometimes I even invite the team to the affinity diagram to make sense of the topics, or share the work in progress with them so they can add more questions or a different point of view to ensure that we have the right clusters or the right focus. So that could be an interactive session. But then definitely sharing out the findings of the research in a very short and precise, summarized way, to then focus on what did we learn and what does it mean for us? What do we want to work on? I hope sharing that approach helps you with your next session, and I hope that, you can see how to use interactive sessions, workshops, or interactive meetings to work better with your team, with your cross-functional team, and to overall increase engagement and buy-in from your stakeholders.